Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing, I think we're at part 4 of the E36 turbo build on my, M52 B28 96 E36. So far, just a recap, just to sum it up really fast, we've gone, manifold mounted, intercooler mounted, oil cooler mounted, turbo installed, downpipe made, exhaust made, and then taking the cooling system apart to sort out like the reservoir issues. And more or less that's kind of it. I'm trying to get the bulk of the hard stuff out of the way, quote unquote. That way all that's left is going to be small stuff like gauges, fuel pump, and injectors, which is all plug and play stuff. It's going to be pretty easy. This video I'm going to be focusing on doing the M50 manifold install. I've got it here on my workbench. Stock manifold, I'm sure it'd be fine, but I did get a good deal on the manifold, and I just bought, I think, the Beamer World adapter kit since it's cheap. So kind of just doing it while I'm in here, since I do have to have this stuff apart anyway, because along with this manifold swap, I'm going to be installing my oil feed line on my new Vanos line, because I'm using the Siemens JIT Garage oil feed port, which taps in with the Vanos line at a banjo fitting. My banjo line has been leaking. I have a new OEM one in the box up here on my toolbox, so that will solve that problem. And then the water lines will be running from the throttle body lines, which is a pretty common thing to do. And I bought the Rally Road Racing one, which has the fitting that screws into the head under here, so while the manifold's out, obviously it's just going to be a lot easier to access that. Now, it's pretty straightforward. The manifold swap, the only concern I have is vacuum sources for all of this. Now, I've done some research. So here we've got our M50 manifold. I'm just going to wipe it out really quick before I actually do the install. This sensor here for the factory OBD1, I don't need that. I'll be using a GM intake air temp sensor that I'll be adding a bung to on my charge piping for, because I'm running a Mega Squirt PNP3. This right here, this vacuum nipple, I believe this just goes to the fuel pressure regulator, so I've got some new silicone vacuum line here, because the one that was on here was dry rotted, so I will just be routing this like factory here. Idler control valve will be coming off of here. As far as I know, I'm keeping that. So I have the hose kit, which I will let me grab the box really quick and let's actually open that and show you what's in there. In the box here, I have two different boxes. One is from Rally Road, one's from Beamer World. This is the Rally Road kit with the silicone coupler with the single port on it. And these are the hose upgrades, I believe, for the idler control valve that I got from them. And then this is the Beamer World kit here. So this is the the funky shaped hose. I believe this actually allows you to reuse your CCV, but in this case, because of the turbo setup, I won't be. But I see a vacuum nipple there, so I will be utilizing that for either blow-off valve or boost gauge or something. Which brings me to my next thing that I was going to mention before I just seen that, is there's two ports right here that are already holes. They're just not threaded, so I was just going to use a 1/8 MPT that I have here and use a 1/8 MPT to barb and just run one of my fittings off of that. Again, this is getting left alone since no sensor needs to be there for me. This, again, fuel pressure regulator. So in this kit, yeah, we got our adapter for the elbow. We got some hose clamps that are new. We have, the funky looking spider hand thing, some straight tube, and this is more or less the adapter. This has the injector clip adapters, basically just spacers to move the mounting point over, new gasket, and I believe this is a bracket for the dipstick tube and a vacuum tee, and a throttle body adapter. So pretty straightforward. Instructions are all in here. If you buy the same kit, you'll get the same instructions. So I'm just going to go ahead and start cracking away at this thing. This not so much a how-to, we're just kind of going through things. We're starting to get closer and closer to being done, so I'm getting more anxious to finish it. So bear with me. If you have, if there's any important details that need to be shown, I will be sure to show them. But there's plenty of M50 manifold swap videos in greater detail than I'm going to show you. So let's get started. Manifold's off. Definitely a rat's nest under here. So I went and marked these things because they all look identical to me. Because coming from Hondas, where Honda connectors are at least easily identifiable, these not so much. So mark the ones that I needed to mark. I realized though that my fuel pressure regulator, I don't believe is hooked up. I'm gonna lift the car up in a sec just to check, but I think this used to be my fuel pressure regulator line. I thought it was up here. On my car, it's down by the fuel filter underneath the driver's seat area under the car, because I noticed when I pulled my manifold off here, this little tiny vacuum plug was not plugged in. I had the bigger one here, but this little guy, no. So anyway, that's a task for future me here in a moment. But short term, idler control valve is right here. So let's lay these manifolds next to each other really quick and just kind of see just how much simplified, you know, this gets. So instead of having the 2 ports here, we have the 1. So there, you know, you see the difference. Air temp sensor here, but again, not using that guy. So really all I'm concerned with is idler control valve. Okay, so before I touch the manifold, oil feed line, here's the Vanos line, comes down right here to right here. So I do have the, I think it's Steam's Legit Garage, like I had mentioned. So this little adapter just threads in there, uses a banjo. You know, here's my new line, my new OEM banjo, Vanos line. So this will just go into there, and then I have his line, I think somewhere right around here. I don't even know where I put it. Oh, right here. So this is the feed line. So this will just screw then from that adapter, and then I got to thread the adapter in on the turbo, and then that will just plug in. Guess it doesn't really matter where I start, eh? Don't make a mess. Oh, it's because the crush washer is so dang crushed. It's threaded with the with the freaking
banjo.
Yeah. Okay, we're looking okay in there.
Reminds me of like PC building when you don't
see how
cable
drenched that is? Just full of goo. So this line as a whole is garbage now, except we need the bolt. Obviously use new crush washers. Actually no, the bolt we don't need that because the new one, gosh, look at that, bro. If that doesn't, like, you know, exemplify what it's like touching a BMW, I don't know what does. Alright, so yeah, so our new fitting is going to act as our banjo bolt. And of course we need crush washers. He does supply them with this kit, but because I am doing the new line, I do have the washers that come with the line too for the upper one. So if you don't know, washer on top, put it through the hose, washer on bottom. And in this case, the hose is particular, so it does have the bend here that goes on the bottom side. The straight one, you know, goes as is. So right. Oil line is loose down here still because we're just putting it on the turbo.
This is
what?
This is snug. This doesn't want to go for shit.
This silicone sleeving doesn't come with it. I added that. This is from Funk Motorsports. All right, so right now with the water lines and all that, I just gonna snug them down, but everything's ran. Found the fuel pressure regulator up here, and yeah, mine wasn't hooked up. My hose was dry rotted off, so I got some silicone line that I found this morning. So I'm gonna run that just to the plastic line. I thought that was hardened rubber. It's actually a plastic line to go up from here to the manifold. So I got plenty of silicone here, so this will work. It's a little dry, ain't it?
Yeah, I like crumbled it to pieces on my fingers because I didn't want to put the razor on this hose.
Oh.
But this is metal, so it's getting the razor treatment.
Trying to figure out this manifold situation right now. Also, just to show you guys, we got the lower fuel pressure regulator done. This is the hose, so it's up here now. So now we're just getting that, you know, ready to go onto the intake manifold. But yeah, so I forgot that I bought a mix of 2 kits because I previously had done research and forgot. So this kit here is from Rally Road. This is Beamer World. So I'm only keeping the idler control valve. So in this instance, I don't need this piece here in the short term, so I will keep this just in case later. But I only need this valve right here. This is what hooks into the manifold right up top here. So these are obviously your gaskets, throttle body gasket, and then I do need these brackets, and this is your dipstick tube adapter that they give you. These are your fuel rail spacer adapter thingies, and this is the bracket for the idler control valve to mount and, you know, stay solid so it's not flopping around. But pretty much it's like a plug and play setup. So I'm gonna go ahead, read the instructions really quick, do it, and I'll show you what it looks like. Got it sorted out. In this case, I thankfully I don't even need this because I forgot why I ordered this Rally Road kit, and that's because I was simplifying it. I mostly bought this kit for the other components. So this is exactly how you're supposed to run it with the Rally Road kit. So they'll send you this elbow. You just take the clamp off of that, Johnny, and reuse this plastic piece. So this nipple over here, this vacuum nipple, I'm actually going to use that for fuel pressure regulator because the regulator comes up centered. So this nipple, I'm going to use a T here and use this for boost gauge and for my blow-off valve. So that's going to be nice and convenient there. Obviously, you see we have the idler control valve floating here, and then we have the hose here, which also uses this little, you know, elbow. It's a nice new plastic elbow to go then into the boot right here. So for the idler control valve, I think I still have a bolt hole here, so I'm gonna just bend up one of these brackets that came with the kit and just reutilize that anyway, just so this isn't flopping around. But that's pretty much it. Then just pull these out just like that, toss those, put the new ones in, and we're good to go. Okay, I just modified the bracket that came with the Beamer World kit. I just re-drilled the hole, shortened it so it wasn't interfering, and then just added a Rivnut in the idler control valve bracket, so that's all firmly mounted. And yeah, plugs in there, so this thing's good to go back on the car now. Everything else down here, I'm gonna snug up these water lines really quick, and yeah, then everything is good to be plugged back in. All right, we're good. Everything's tightened down. I got anxious and I put on my Funk turbo blanket. That just makes the whole setup look so much more bougie. Everything here is tightened down, so we're ready to go ahead and slap the intake back on. We got the silicone hose here. This hose is just to the charcoal stuff. I'm not reusing this at the moment, so in the short term, this is just going to be vented basically as is. I believe this just recycles fuel vapors to the intake manifold, so not a huge deal. Most people delete this anyway, which eventually I will too, so we're not going to worry about that at the moment. So, all right, let's bolt this puppy back on.
I'm just going to sneak this around.
I don't know what just fell.
I don't know. I don't see anything.
Just a plastic cap. Okay.
When you have a massive vacuum leak, we'll find out.
I think it was the wiper arm hardware bolt cover.
All right. I just had to get the idle air control valve around the one of the feed lines.
Alright. Hard part's just getting this vacuum line plugged into the nipple up there, but overall, this went in.
Yeah.
Well, it's not all the way seated yet.
I'm getting my big arm in here to hook up the vacuum to the fuel pressure rag real quick.
Alright, manifold's bolted in. I'm waiting on my injectors to show up in the mail, so I'm not going to modify the rail in this video. I did just follow the instructions and trimmed off the two O2 sensor tabs for the clips that go here and here. And then again, they just send you the little adapters. So it really is just plug and play. You just kind of just rest it in there and then use their clips. It's easy. So Isaiah just finished plugging in the throttle position sensor stuff. We're just trying to organize things a little bit better. Again, the water lines on the throttle body are now just open. You don't need those, since that's where I'm running my water lines to now with the Rally Road kit. And yeah, so now that we know where that goes, take the tape off of there. This is just going to go to the silicone elbow. Just got to slap that Johnny on really quick. So heck yeah, we're basically ready. And then once this is on here in a moment, I'll start building the charge pipe for this side too, the cold side. Started on the charge pipe. This is the upper section that I gotta raise the car and delete my horns real quick, but I'm gonna bead roll this now because it's gonna be the best time. So I noticed the coupler from Rally Road or whoever I got, it's a 3-inch, and I'm doing 2.5 charge pipe, so I made this reducer here, so this thing's all good to go. Give it a nice little bead roll. And we'll go just a little bit deeper just because that coupler was a little on the looser side. Alright. Sweet. Nice and thick. Alright, so because of the situation with my reservoir, turbo guys, you know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna make something later, but for now, as far as I know, this will work just fine. So obviously it's gonna kind of get zip tied up higher so it actually bleeds properly. So I'm working around it so it has room so I can kind of tinker with it. But ideally, we're looking something like that. Probably pull this out a little bit. And then do probably a 45 down through there, but yeah, my horn's in the way, so let's delete those real quick since they don't work anyway. So who needs them? Alright, so charge pipe is done. Everything's looking super good. I'm very happy with it, to be honest. So blow off valve. I wanted to have it visible in the engine bay because why not? And you know, tucked in the corner here, it should make some decent noises. So it's like touching the body, but that's okay. It'll work. So I'm using a pulsar, which is very, very similar to a tile. So it should sound pretty much the same. So I've personally never heard one, but I have a few buddies that run this setup. So got your O-ring in here, and then it's a V-band setup. So all right, had a little difficulty putting the O-ring on this thing because for whatever reason it just didn't want to sit right, but I think I got it now. I'll know for sure once I start trying to build boost if it's boost leaking or not, but otherwise this thing is all done. The only thing that I'm still missing is my intake air temp sensor bunk, since that's still waiting to come in the mail. So chances are I will probably just end up putting that here on the bottom side of the larger piece or something, so it's close and it's tucked. You won't really be able to see it. So short of ordering a couple of the, you know, AN coupler adapter things to hold these a little bit cleaner looking, I mean, this is more or less what we're looking like. Still gonna change the valve cover, but I ordered some AN bungs to weld on, so I'm gonna wait to do that. And then again, still waiting on the injectors. So top side in the engine bay, I am gonna make a little L bracket for this because there's a little screw down here, so I can just bring the reservoir up and then just make an L bracket and zip tie it really nicely. So that'll solve that problem for now. Yeah. Oh, and then I also got to figure out the L here. I think I'm going to weld something on here onto the radiator to get it away from the wastegate and then just run a silicone hose. I just got to figure out what that size is really quick. But, I mean, we're looking pretty boosted right now. Not too bad. Well, we're basically ending this video up here in a moment, but I wanted to just see some of the bling on here before I finalize it. So obviously I don't have oil lines made yet. I got to go order fittings, but at least mocking this up will let me figure out what I need. So this is the PMC oil filter housing adapter that gives you two 1/8 MPT ports as well as your two -10 fittings. My oil cooler mounted up front and stuff. I can at least kind of, you know, route my lines. Now this thing's cool because this top section comes off, you know, cool / minor annoyance, because every time you go to change your oil, you got to pull this off in order to, you know, change your oil, or you got to disconnect your oil feed lines there. But the top half comes separate from the ridged part, so it's just, you know, tomato, tomato, however you want to do your oil change. But right at the moment, I'm putting this on like this because I kind of just want to see how everything works. And don't yell at me for not changing the oil filter. This oil has like 30 miles on it because I just changed it before I tore the car apart. So okay, so obviously this is just like your normal oil filter housing section, oil filter O-rings, and I'd imagine they machine it for factory O-rings. It's definitely a bit of a bear to get this thing on. I don't have a strap wrench like one of those rubber oil filter things, so thankfully Isaiah's got a Gorilla Grip on him, so that's tight. And this, it kind of lets you clock it in different ways, but ideally that's going to be most suitable for me. So yeah, we can just freaking snug this Johnny up, and this thing looks so freaking baller. Like, it looks really dope. Gosh, this thing has just enough room to get this T-wrench right there.
That's how most of this engine bay is, like just enough room.
Literally. I mean, honestly, from a serviceability standpoint, though, for being turbo now, it's not much different. The only thing that's going to suck is anything on this side, but even then, all these lines are pretty accessible. Like, I'll have to loosen the V-band and probably disconnect the charge pipe and clock the turbo a little bit if I need to take this water line off in the future. But everything else, like once the turbo blanket's off and the downpipe's out of the way, it's all...
That's also not like a big service. That's every once in a blue moon you actually have to take that line off. But
yeah.
when it comes to like...
Which was honestly kind of my big gripe about doing the turbo BMW anyway instead of going JZ. I was like, oh, serviceability. But now that I'm actually in here and like putting stuff together, with the M50 manifold, how it sits higher, it gives you more arm clearance down there. And since it's simplified everything, like...
Deleting all that stuff.
Yeah, there's really not much to worry about anymore. I mean,
at this point, when it comes to just doing your routine maintenance, the biggest inconvenience is going to be this housing.
Oh,
Because you
absolutely.
got to like undo all those. But outside of that, valve cover is still fully accessible. Spark plugs and coils have no.
yeah, and this looks freaking so sick though. So reservoir, once I make the little L tab, probably do that here in just a minute off camera, just because no point in showing that. But oil lines, I'm thinking probably run over and down and run them across like in this area. And then my cooler is facing down, so it'll be tight. It's either that or maybe I can swoop them over and bring them up through here next to the charge pipe, so it's not as tight of a bend. It'll make them a little bit longer, but it might just be more efficient that way. But other than that, I mean, only other line to make is the drain, which I'm making a hard line off the turbo to kind of swerve it around all the hot stuff, and then we'll do AN line down. But I'm waiting for my material to show up for the hard line, so. Honestly, that's probably going to do it for this video. We got the M50 manifold swap done. Not hard at all. Just read the instructions or just kind of use some brain power. It's easy. And all the charge pipes finally done. I'm pretty stoked. Thanks, Isaiah, for helping all day. And yeah, I'm just glad we're one step closer. So thanks for spending some time out of your day with us. Hope you enjoyed it. If you are new to the channel, hopefully you want to hit that subscribe button. And yeah, I don't have much else to say to you guys. So we'll see you in the next one. Do what you love. Forget about the rest. Have a good night. Peace out.